Come and do this set with me. Grab a brew, take a seat, and let's get started. So I always start by sanitising myself and my client's hands. She did have a tiny touch of product left, but I didn't want to soak any more off. I thought I could take that off with the file. So you will see that I actually do that in a little bit, that I do actually just kind of literally just go in with my hand file, or my e-file rather, and just whip the little bit of product left off. I'm using the flame bit from Katie Barnes. I think it's the medium one, and I just find it really gentle and it's lovely, and it lifts the cuticle and it cleans that nail plate up, an absolute treat. So next I'm going to go in with my cuticle scissors. Now, these are from Katie Barnes. If you struggle at all with nipping cuticles, get a pair of these. In fact, if you don't, get a pair of these. They are not cheap. They're around about £28, but she does, I think she's got like a servicing thing with them. And also they're so good. They'll speed up your services. They make you more confident. I honestly can't remember the last time I nicked somebody with these. In fact, I don't, maybe once or twice with somebody with very delicate cuticles, but they are so, so good. Next I go in with my sanding band, and you'll see there I'm just ever so gently filing off that acrylic and just making it nice and smooth. I didn't see the point in having our hands in acetone because, you know, we were just going to go in with the e-file. Now, I then went in and just filed all of that shine off. We're really, really gentle with this bit. It's the mini sanding band, again from Katie Barnes. Just in case you hadn't guessed, I am a bit of a Katie Barnes stan, and there is a reason for that. Her bits are fabulous quality and they last me, and they aren't wildly expensive, to be honest with you. They're a really good price, and they're just so good. So then once I've taken all of that shine off and just very gently etched the nail plate, I then go in with my tips. So you're wanting to line that tip up with the knuckle rather than the actual end of the finger. And I like to kind of hold them next to each other just to make sure that they are actually lined up. Also, if you have one tip that is maybe slightly too small or one tip that's slightly too large, go for the slightly large one and just file it. Reason being, you don't want to kind of force that onto the nail because it's more likely to break or snap around the stress areas, just around the side walls of that nail. So I'm using the extra long tips from By Ashley. I really like these. I've never been a natural tips fan before, but I like the colour of these because they're not too dark. So when you do like a nude set, it almost looks like an ombre automatically. They're beautiful. Anyway, before I trim them down, I just go in and I lay a clear base. This, I find, when I'm filing in a little bit, it just makes life so much easier. My friend had absolutely clattered a little finger there. By the way, there's a little bruise on a little finger there, just in case you're wondering what that mark is. Then once we've done all of the clear base layer, we will go in with the shaping in a minute. I, where possible, will always try and put a clear base layer on my sets. I just find it makes that adhesion so much better. The set I'm actually doing over this is predominantly nude, but I am doing glitter as well. So it means that I didn't then need to go in and do another clear base layer for the glitter. If you are enjoying this content, please could you drop a like and a follow and perhaps share it. It really helps push it out, and I am loving doing these longer videos. So any kind of engagement, anything that you're interested in, if you want to see, let me know. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Once I've done all of that, like I say, I'm going to go in with the shaping in a moment. I'll leave you to watch and I'll come back in a second. This tip cutter is amazing. I am wildly anxious. I don't like to use magnets because I'm terrified of dropping them because they can be quite dangerous. So that tip cutter has like a measuring kind of thing on each one, so you can spin it so they're all the same kind of length, if that makes sense. So I just find, and also it means I'm not carrying around loads of little bits, it's just one item that I'm carrying, and it's just made it so much easier. The only thing I would say with that is on the pointer finger, that nail bed's often a bit shorter, so I try and leave that a bit longer so then I can later kind of compare them and sort it with my hand file. I'm just basically here, I cut off the sides when I'm doing a coffin, like I did there, then making sure that file is at a really sharp 90-degree angle. I am just making sure I just get those nice and crisp. I'm also filing out any wings there, because I think I forgot to blend my tips before I put my clear on. So I'm just making sure that it's nice and flush again, and I'm just kind of blending anything out of the sides there. Don't file too heavily on the sides because we don't want to go into the side walls. I'm literally just on acrylic here. So once I've done all of that, and I've got the shape that I want, you'll see again I'm kind of holding that at a nice 90-degree angle. In fact, I think I trimmed a little bit more off there. If you can get to learn to use your scissors really well, you will find that it makes your shaping so much better and quicker. So yeah, these files are from Pro Impressions as well, and I wasn't that impressed with them. I love Pro Impression stuff, but I think these are a bit softer. I've got some of their other files and they're great, so I feel like these are probably better for acrylic. Better for gel rather than acrylic. But on the whole, I do love Pro Impression stuff. So I'm going in here. I did a few different methods because I wanted to show them on camera, and I was recording my friend's nails and it always takes me a bit longer. So she's more than happy with that. So it means that I can do different methods to show you is what I'm trying to say there. So I do the first bead. I think there's a 2-bead method on this particular nail. I go in with the bead probably about 2/3 of the way up, and then I place a bead, and then I can obviously blend that towards the tip, and then I place the second bead by the cuticle. The reason I wanted to do this in different methods was, and I wanted to show you, was because I wanted you to know that it doesn't have to be a 3-bead method, 2-bead method, 1-bead method. It doesn't matter. As long as that nail, the structure is there, the nail is good, it's good to get into a habit of doing something that you like. But if you find that actually on a medium set, maybe a 3-bead method works better, or a shorter set, a 1-bead method works better, the most important thing is the structure is there, your work is good, and it's working for you as well. So that's the most important thing. As you can see, I do faff quite a bit afterwards, but it just means that my filing after I've done the set is relatively minimal. I did add a little bit more on a tip there, just because I wanted to make that a little bit more sturdy, particularly on the pointer. I find that this client, if she's going to lose one, it's normally the middle of the pointer, so I just like to make sure that's really well reinforced. It's not thick, it's just the right kind of level, and it just means that she's got that extra structure in. So now for the exciting bit, we're going to get into the glitter. So basically I apply a tiny little bead again at the cuticle and I blend that over. Then I go in with my glitter. I've picked a tiny bit of this beautiful glitter up with my clear acrylic, and I mean just a tiny bit. I very rarely pre-mix my glitters, I don't see the point. I'd rather have them more flexible so I can use them for gel. So I've just blended that down just so I've got a nice little cover, and I'm making sure that obviously I'm minimising anything that's going off the nail. And then again another tiny little bead, and I'm just using the tip of my brush just to kind of wiggle that all the way down, and then I'll just very gently paint that down. And look at that coverage, that's pretty much good. I think I add a tiny little bit more in a moment, but once I'm done that, you're all good to go. Next we have the ombre nail. So with the ombre nail we want to place it probably about halfway up the nail first off when I'm working with glitter, and then I'm going to blend that towards the tip. Then that join area I will actually blend that back. I think I did add a little bit more, but when I'm working with glitter try and work with mainly the tip of your brush because it just helps move it and not wipe it away. You're using a very light touch. So we're doing very tiny tapping motions at the join area there, and then we're blending that up towards the cuticle. When I do add some more glitter here, I add it towards the tip. You'll notice I'm trying not to go over that particular blend area too much. I'd like that to be a little bit thinner so it's easier to disguise when I go in with my ombre, my nude in a moment. Next I need to make sure I cap that. It doesn't matter what order you do this in. Then, so yes, you want to cap that, and I'm just placing a relatively wet bead by the cuticle, fingertip angled down, and I'm just allowing that to kind of blend down the nail, and I'm just using my brush just to help that. Notice there was a little bit of white underneath that where the powder hadn't quite dissolved, as it were, so I put my brush under just to make sure it was fully dissolved, and at the end it was perfect. Tiny bit again at the nail tip just to make sure we've got that structure in place, and then we're good to move on to the next one in a moment. Now, I forgot to record the adding of the nude on this one, but I have done it on the thumb in a moment. But while I was capping that, obviously I went in and I capped this one too. And again, I'm just using the belly of my brush just to ease that down. I'm trying not to touch it too much. I want gravity to do most of the work, because the more you touch that clear acrylic, the more you'll get bubbles in it. So it's really important that you kind of know what you're doing and you're working with the acrylic to make sure all of the bubbles are out there, even if you make sure that your brush is really well hydrated. It doesn't have to be a wet bead, but you just want to make sure there's enough monomer in there so it's not dry or bubbly. And then now I watch these videos and I realise that obviously I do tend to spend a lot of time kind of refining. Like I say, it does minimise my filing, but do whatever it works for you, I suppose. So here you'll see I'm adding the nude bead. So the nude bead goes over the join area. I'm just doing a small bead first, and then I'm blending that down to the tip. So you'll notice that as well at the back of that bead it's quite flush with the nail, because I don't want that other nail to behind the other bead that I put on it now to have to work too hard to get over it and towards the tip. So I'll place another bead now, just here, and I am just going to tuck that into the cuticle. And I'm using the shape of my brush to fit that into the cuticle really flushly there, and then again blending that down. I might add a little bit more over the blend in a moment, I can't honestly remember, but we'll see in a second. Yep, just a tiny little bit of acrylic there just to make sure that's nice and blended out. And when I'm actually blending down, I'm trying to aim to touch at the end of the acrylic, not the middle, because I don't want to wipe it away. I want to make sure I've got a good coverage, like over the blend, and then kind of at the end I'll feather it out. Then I go in with a clear bead of acrylic, and I literally just encapsulate that whole thing. I think I had a full-on brain fart when I was doing this particular set, and I mixed up the full glitter finger and the ombre, I think I did, on this set. But thankfully my client, like I say, she's my best mate, she doesn't really care, she just loves her nails always, so she's quite happy with whatever I do. So yeah, but then again, always encapsulate your glitter. You don't want to put all that hard work in to making it beautiful and then file it away. And make sure it's entirely matte when you cap it. So you want to make sure that's all nice and flush. I'm using the brush to do most of the work, so my file doesn't have to. And yeah, I'll let you watch the rest of the set, and I will come back in a moment. I am going to try and do a separate video on filing, because it's really difficult to get the filing in so you can see it really well. So I might do it on my own nails, or do a few little tutorials on my own nails of filing, just because it's hard to get the angle in. And this is the final look. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye now.